I would never be without a selection of emerger patterns in my fly boxes, and the olive emerger, tied in sizes 12 to 16, is one of my favourites. Start the tying thread behind the eye of the hook and come down the shank a few millimetres to secure the thread. Then we'll just snip that section off that we don't need, and then carry on down the shank and around the bend of the hook. I'll just tilt that forward so that this thread doesn't slip, and we'll carry on round. Keep going well round the bend. Tilt it forward a touch more. Touch in turns to about there. And now we're going to add the abdomen. The abdomen is olive superfine dubbing. I'll wind it onto the thread quite tightly because I want to form a tapered abdomen. Thin initially and then getting thicker as we get up towards the eye of the hook and the thorax area. I'll just build that up. Once I'm happy with this section, I'm going to straighten the hook up in the vise again. That's it, I'll just straighten that up a touch. And then carry on building that tapered abdomen. As usual, with the dubbing, it's little and often. Straighten it up again, and that should be right. So we'll carry on a bit further. I normally think of the fly in thirds if you want. 2/3 for the abdomen and 1/3 for the thorax. Touch more. Once I'm happy that I've got a nice tapered abdomen, I'll add the CDC wing. I'll leave the thread at the rear of the thorax area and strip away the fluffy fibres at the base of a CDC feather, and then sit it on the hook and take one wrap. Keep the tension on while I pull the feather through. Once I'm happy with the length, take one more wrap to lock it and snip that off. Then I do the same with another feather. Strip away the soft fluffy base, hold it against the hook, one wrap, tension on, pull that through and use the first feather as a gauge to get the right length. One wrap to lock, snip it off. I normally use 2 to 4 feathers for a CDC wing, depending on the quality of those feathers. The main thing is that there's enough feather there to support the fly. snip that away, pull that back. I'm happy with the position on the thorax. Take a few wraps over those stubs to hold it in place. And now it's time to add the thorax dubbing. This is my own mix of hare's mask and pearl eye stub. I'm afraid I don't have any ratios for you. I tend to strip a hare's mask and ears, and once I have a pile of fur, then I'll add eye stub until I'm happy with the finished article. But try not to add too much eye stub. I want a little bit of sparkle, but not too much. So now I'm going to dub the area between the abdomen and the base of the CDC wings. Now I'm just going to add some more dubbing to the tying thread. I'm not winding this on too tightly. Then I'll take the CDC fibres and hold them back while I dub the area in front of them. And I'm dubbing tight into the base of the fibres so that it'll hold those fibres up. Keep that wing vertical. I'm happy with that. So I'll add just a touch more dubbing. Make sure I've got that area filled nicely and I've got sufficient to stroke back when the fly is finished. That's it. Now I'll take a few wraps behind the eye. Do a whip finish and remove the thread. Now I'll take the Velcro dubbing brush and pick out the hare's mask and pearly fibres in front of the wing. Just pick all those fibres out. Under the thorax. And behind the wing. Now I'll tidy it up. I'll just cut those fibres out underneath the thorax, cut them relatively short. I don't like them too long. And then pick out any longer fibres on top of the fly. Once I'm happy with that, I'll get some varnish and varnish the head of the fly to seal that tying thread. I'll just do underneath, touch that. Tidy it up. That should be sealed. Take a bit of varnish off the eye. And then I'll have a final tidy up by snipping out any long fibres and just pulling out one or two there. And that's it, finished. Many of us fishermen and fly tyers think about footprints and triggers. That's why I like a coarser hair in my emerged thorax. I like to think that the picked out hairs create a footprint that gives the impression of life. Perhaps a dun fighting its way out of the nymphal shuck, and that footprint triggers a take from the fish. Anyway, I hope this fly works as well for you as it has for me.